प्राइभेट इक्विटी भनेको के हो त? प्राइभेट इक्विटी भनेर हामी जुन यो शब्द दुईटा शब्द सुन्छौँ नि होइन, यो शब्द एक्ज्याक्टली के हो? एनीबडी फिल फ्री जम्प इन.
How about we start with the professor first?
Done. Let's do it. All right. Thank you, Tenzing. Private equity.
So private equity is basically investor investing into equity is private equity, right? So it's basically a pool of capital. Basically, for example, bank. We know bank. When you go to bank, there are two things that banks do. One is deposit, and another is lending. So bank basically gives you the credit, whereas in private equity, we give our equity. We become the partner in equity. So that is the the basic concept of private equity. Not only as a private equity we provide capital, but there is also technical expertise and other aspect that we support the business in, because it becomes also our business and we grow that business. But one thing in private equity is different from other investor is we are a investor for a limited period of time. We cannot be a long life, investor or shareholder of that company. We basically, come out from that company. Basically, we go into that company, we invest into a company, we grow that company, and then we exit that company. So there is also a time period in terms of how much time that we become a part of that company. So that is a private equity.
Very, very interesting. Now there's another other three words, and again, anybody can feel free and jump in and explain this as well. एकदम त्यो आजकल रोल हुन थालेको शब्दहरू हो कि यिनीहरू होइन. भेन्चर क्यापिटल फन्ड्स भनेर भन्छन् होइन, भेन्चर क्यापिटल भनेर भन्छन् होइन. Just give a gist of what exactly is a venture capital. Anybody feel free. Tenzing, go for it. Go for it.
Sure. So basically, as Manish ji has said, just to add on actually, so private equity is just a form of alternative capital, right? So as we all aware, banks provide capital, and so do private investors also provide capital. So private equity is a kind of private capital that you're investing into companies, but as Manish ji said, there's a kind of definitive exit plan, right? So typically it could be 5 years, 7 years, and so on. And venture capitals, in some ways, is quite similar in that it's private capital being invested in companies. I think the, kind of to put in a small way, the main distinguishing factor is typically venture capital is for more early stage companies, and private equity is for more growth capital. So let's say, Sanjay, you have a brilliant idea, right? But that idea has not been tested. It's just at ideation stage. So typically, it's very unlikely that Manish ji's private equity firm will approach you. They might say, wonderful, but you're a little early for us, because you've not proven your revenue model, so on and so forth. And you'd be better off probably than approaching venture capital firms. So both are similar in that generally like managers, fund managers are people who are smart, financially savvy with industrial experience. The difference is that venture capitals typically have a higher risk appetite because you're typically investing much early on, right?
Yeah.
I think private equity minimum, they won't invest in companies typically before at least 3 years of operations, because in 3 years you would have probably shown certain revenue, or you could be loss making, but there could be a certain path towards profitability, right? So there's that difference in risk appetite. I think generally speaking, venture capitalists should have a higher risk appetite than private equity, but both are private forms of capital basically. So that's the similarity.
Thank you very much for sharing that with everybody. I'm trying to figure out मलाई कति वर्ष लाग्ने रहेछ त कसकोमा जानलाई भनेर मैले figure out गर्दै थिएँ हैन.
If you love what we are doing, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications.
Thank you very much for watching us on YouTube. Make sure that you also listen to us on Spotify. This program is brought to you by Vyas Studios.